Hello everyone and welcome back, Dace here. So today we are going to just jump right into the replay. I'll do a bit of explaining as we go, but yeah, this is for Arcade Original, just to give you a bit of a grasp as to how to tackle the stages and all that kind of stuff. So I'm not going to take up time saying that right now. We will just start things off and get things moving. So let's just jump right in. And yeah, so anyway, the main thing that I do with this first stage is a lot of point blanking, a lot of heavy focus on getting stars as high as possible. More so in this stage than any other stage because this is the easiest to tackle in that regard. So as you can see, I'm just point blanking, building my gauge super quick with lock-ons and all that kind of stuff. And just have your double break ready as early as I do in this this level. So boom, I'm already in double break. And yeah, so anyway, part of the reason I want to put this together was because the game has next to no resources on it. It took me a long while even to figure out how to play this game to the extent that I know now. Because obviously the in-game tutorial doesn't really tell you much. And interestingly enough, there are very few videos that give you insight as to how to approach the game. One thing I've noticed is that people who have like a video of them clearing the game, they almost never respond to questions or comments. I have no idea why, but like maybe out of 10 or so different people, I've heard back from one person when I was first getting into it and had questions about how the game worked and all that kind of stuff. No clue why, it's so strange. So I figured, you know what, I want to create this because I feel like it will help a lot of people. So I'm not explaining a whole bunch about this level, but you can all obviously rewatch it, see what I'm doing. But in the past, I would usually only get about 45,000 stars by the end of it, and I had no idea how people were getting so high. So after a bit of figuring out and realizing that, okay, the huge focus here is point blanking and just building it up super quick so you can just capitalize on the breaks to a certain degree anyway. That started pushing me up to the 70,000, 80,000. There were even a few instances where I was 100 stars shy of 90,000, which is huge because you're almost at the first extend at that point, which you want to get that as early as possible. So for this boss, what I do, I'm going to just pause periodically. Some people, they circle this boss and they blow the weapons off and all that kind of stuff. I'm not sure what that's all about. What I've noticed is that I get more stars when I do it my way, so that's what I'm going to do here and explain. But I break to the side so that I'm not damaging him yet. And you'll see that I went over just a little bit. Sometimes if you need to fill up just a tiny sliver of gauge to hit your double, you'll just need to damage him a tiny bit, but then go back over while it's going. And I only damage him once he's going to be giving me the huge stars like he is now. And this gives you a boatload. So this is really simple stuff. You just go back and forth. And then ideally I like to take him out with a full lock on, but I didn't that time, so I just do it here. But either way, pretty straightforward stage. So yeah, 83,000 stars at the end of this. And the reason we want to focus so much on getting stars in abundance and early is because sometimes if you're not making that a focus, what can happen is, I'm just going to pause here for a second. What can happen is in stage 5 or whatever, you might not hit 450,000. Now there obviously is the 700,000. That's kind of out of reach. I've never gotten that. I've never even bothered going for that because it's just a pretty steep one to shoot for. But you don't really need it either. So for this part, pretty straightforward stuff. You just kind of go back and forth. This guy comes. I misdirect him to the one side so that second attack of blue shots goes the other way. And that way it leaves the middle open a little more. And then just clearing enemies. If you want to break here, you can. I don't double break here because I want to actually have energy for a part coming up, which I'll explain why I do it that way. Those things I'm shooting there have a ton of HP. I don't think I maybe destroyed them like once or twice, but it's not too common. But you can get a lot of gauge from those dudes. So when we come to the halfway boss, I always want to make sure I'm pretty much at my double break. And that's why I don't double break earlier. Okay, so here I go for just a little bit, and then I trigger my first, and then my second, pretty much when the head blows off that thing, and or like right after or whatever. And then you're just inching across slowly, and boom, he's done. Super quick, super easy. There are many instances in this game where all you've got to be doing is inching across the screen, so keep that in mind. And here, same thing, just pick a side, typically the left, and just move your way to the right. And clear some of those pods, but then same thing. I start on this side and just start moving over a little bit. And when pretty much after this section right here is when these guys start showing up, that's when I will jump into my break again and then double break just to take that guy down quick. And timing it this way, doing it at these specific times, means that you'll pretty much be finishing your break once the enemies are done. And you can get a ton of stars from this section here, so it's definitely worth it. And another reason I wanted to put this together specifically with commentaries, because sometimes just watching someone clear the game doesn't really explain things. Like, yeah, sure, you can see how they're doing it, but that doesn't really give you the in-depth info. And I feel like sometimes that is much more helpful to just know the thought process. So for this, point blanking as much as you can. As you can see, it's fairly risky. If you don't want to do this, that's fine, but I like to stay as close as possible. Sometimes I can even take him out before he shoots those blue and white shots. But either way, for the longest time I wasn't breaking there, but I realized, hey, I can just get more stars if I just do it. You just want to make sure you have another one to trigger for the purple shots, because those can just get nasty. But then that part blows away, and then I just stay to one side, because we're going to do 3 waves of those nasty shots, and each one gets longer than the one before. So you just want to make sure you have plenty of room and you're leaving a space. And then after that, it's just a matter of dodging those. And before that gets too crazy, he's already gone. So it's not a big deal. Gonna get some water. So we're coming up to stage 3, which is probably one of the, I wouldn't say it's the hardest, but it's one of the hardest to figure out initially. Like, everyone that I talk to or have heard of who has played this game, like, usually that is the level that just smashes their runs as like the first major wall that they have to deal with. So yeah, as you will notice, the pods that shoot the purple balls, if you don't want to do it the way I'm doing it, or have done it, what you can do is just use lock-on to take them out. And that way, yeah, you can just safely inch your way over while locking on and destroying them. Now, typically, I would actually double break later. I'm not sure why I did it as early as I did. But the idea is if you break and then double break just a little bit later, your double break can be nailing the 2 big flowers that we're about to come up to, and you get insane stars from those. But whatever, it doesn't matter. You can also just do what I did there for those pods. It's not a big deal. And just inch over. Now sometimes you can inch from like left to right very slowly, or you can do what I'm doing where you just sway back and forth. You dash across the middle section. I'm just going to pause here for a second so I'm not getting behind. You can dash across the middle and then go up along the corner just to lead their shots that way. And that way you're keeping the middle free, or relatively free, so that you have a space to go. So for this guy, nice and close. And right when you see those two right ahead of me, that's when you want to cross up and over to the other side on a diagonal. And then you can literally just stay right here, and those will pass right past you. And then point blank again. Now, the thing to remember with this attack is he will shoot on an angle as long as you direct that, and he will start moving to the right side. So I think for the second attack, sometimes you can technically just misdirect and then not even move, because the laser, after it fires, it will move to the right, and so you don't actually have to do much of anything. But get super close and just, take them out. It's a very, very easy boss. So what I do for this part is I always move to this corner, and that way I don't have much to do other than just small adjustments either up or to the right side or back or whatever, but you're not doing much at all. And then I will break here just to finish him off, get super close. And then I wait to double break right here when the enemies start rolling in. Just take those guys out quick. It's a juggle between making sure you're just like picking one side and taking out the pods and then back to the other side. This part can be tricky. It's easy to panic and then want to like cross fast, but obviously they're going to spread their shots way too widely, and you don't want that. So yeah, just do it like I do here. Get rid of the pods, back to the crabs to get rid of them, back to the pods. And make sure those pods are always gone before this guy shows up, because you don't want those raining down upon you while he's doing his thing. And then here's a great opportunity to get a lock on if you want, or you can just go back and forth and kill them. So this part of the level is where things get insane. The first half is pretty much the easy part, and then this is just where it's gonna be the craziest. So we have this line of big pods that are shooting. I just take the first couple out, and then I inch across like this, and then when I see those purple arrows coming from the top right corner, that's when I move up here and then down like that. And we take out, you don't want to go too fast from right to left. You want to make sure you're taking out the full line of the guys who are shooting the blue. But doing it this way means that there's nothing to block my direction, and then I just switch and go back, and then the same thing. Stay on that line until they're all gone, and do the same thing here. And that way nothing's blocking you at all. And you can just slowly move over and take the flower out. So there are a couple of ways to tackle this. I used to double break this first worm, and then the one coming from the bottom right momentarily, you would just stay very close to that head with a lock on and constantly zap him until he's dead. I don't do it that way anymore, because I found I was still taking hits periodically. So the way I do it now is much safer, in my opinion. And this is where I will go into it. And then I double break, and then just clear the tail like that. This part coming up is tricky because we have a longer line of pods, and we have this small flower, which can be a pain. So you've just got to ideally keep as much damage on the line of dudes coming down the right side, but while also taking out that flower, because it can be very nasty. And then when you see those purple shots starting here, you want to be where I am, and then just swing to the side to create a space in the middle like this, and then you're free from that. And then we got 3 of these guys, 1 on the first side, 2 on the next side. So it's just a matter of figuring out how to go back and forth safely. If you've got a bomb, just do it. It's not worth taking a hit here, because it is just super crazy. And then when you see the purple shots, just start inching over to the big flower, and boom. And I will break here just before the crabs get too crazy that are coming in from the side. And then we easily take out the next big guy. And then we've got just these last dudes that show up. Sometimes you might have less, but this time around I had a full load of those dudes. So yeah, easily one of the hardest parts of the game is that second half of stage 3. So anyway, for this boss, stay to the side, but super close. And typically you can pretty much break right around there, because we want to finish him off, like that first notch, before he starts his next attack with the red shots. It's a pretty brutal attack, so just take him out before that. But never double break, and the reason I say that is because this attack is just crazier in that sense. So all you're doing here, those 2 shots, wait, or at least I always look and wait for those. Once I see those, I usually pick a side, either left or right, and just kind of like stay focused and only move when you really need to. Most of the time it's just when things are coming straight down at you. I do a little more moving here, but whatever. And then destroy as many of these things as you can. You'll know you're doing it because the stars will be popping out. So one thing I will say is, in the summer when I had my first main phase with this, I had a strategy. Well, first off, I was using double break, and at the time I didn't realize that it would just create things going way faster and more chaotic. So I was like, oh, there's no way I can circle that when I'm double breaking. So I devised this method of using 3 bombs and staying along the bottom, just going back and forth. And that worked out great, but obviously it uses a lot of resources, and I don't recommend that. But if you don't want to circle with the lasers, then that is an option, and you can search my video for that. So anyway, we're just going to move our way around like this. It's not as crazy as it looks, and as long as you're not in a break mode, it's not going to be an issue. I always break here, and I always get my double break on the other side, just to finish him off really quickly, and then stay nice and close to him for this part, just to do as much point blank as you can. Sometimes you'll get a bullet cancel, sometimes you won't, but as long as you're keeping that double break on him, he will go down fairly quickly. Just make sure you're focused on not getting hit, because it absolutely blows taking a hit there right at the last second. Like, it's just brutal. Oh yeah, water time. Honestly, stage 4, by comparison to the second half of stage 3, is a breeze. So if you can do stage 3, you can do stage 4 much easier. So there are different ways you can do this. I just do it this way. I'm not too concerned, but I stay on this side, take out the whole line of dudes, and then when they stop coming, just whip over to the other side and start inching down and across. Make sure you take out that guy so his lasers don't hit you, and then just break. Clean up. Give yourself some breathing room. Nothing too fancy. And then after that, you got 2 of these guys, 2 more, and then you have a wave of these guys, and then I count 1, 2, 3 heading up to the corner, and then down, down, and inch over. That's all there is to it. 1, 2, 3, 4, gone, and back to the other side slowly. If you want to break, that's fine too. If you go higher up on the left side, you can create a window to sneak through and not break, but it's just easier to break. And then we got 4 of these guys coming in. And then put yourself in the middle here and just take out the little blue jets while inching over to the left. So these 2 big ships that are coming one after another, for the longest time, this was kind of like up in the air for me. I didn't really ever sit and figure out how to do them. And so sometimes I would get it, sometimes I wouldn't, but it's actually very, very simple. You just start in the left corner and you literally just focus on the pink shots. Just, again, inching over it, and it works every single time. And then same thing, you just start on the left side, inch over. You're not even really concerned about the blue and white shots. it's all about just being in between the other ones. So this part coming up here can be pretty intense at times because you do have a fairly tight space, but I do as much damage to that first one as possible. But once it's to this point, then it's time to more or less just focus on surviving and not capitalizing on damage. So yeah, just do your best. If you need to break, if you need to bomb, like whatever, just do it. It's not a big deal, but practice is obviously going to help too. So just make sure you're putting the time into each stage and each part that's tripping you up. But when it gets down to the last two, it's pretty easy to, yeah, just make sure you don't get nailed by that final laser. So do as much as you can, as much damage as you can to the core while you're going up and around. Just nice and easy. Just take it so careful. For this part, I actually switched to the D-pad from the stick. I'm on the Pro controller. And there are ways, I'll just explain something super quick before we continue. There are ways to take this boss out before even needing to circle the first time, and that requires like your double break and just point blank and all that kind of stuff, but that's a little more risky, so that's why I personally just go around the circle once, and I'll start doing a second circle if I really need to, but break pretty much around this point, and then lead those shots to the side, take the tanks out because they can be nasty. And then just make sure you're watching where those shots are going to fly out. And then here, go to the right corner. Do not use your focus shot. Keep your wide shot out. The reason being, these spike dudes that are flying, if you have your focus shot going, they can come in from the sides and clip you. If you have your wide shot out, it will almost never happen, especially if you're like at the bottom of the screen like this. So that's why you just keep your spread shot going, and then you circle up and around, wait for that wave, this wave, and then right corner right away. This is where you can use your focus shot because we only have guys coming from the front, and you're clear of it. So this is just a matter of dodging, pretty basic stuff. Stay on the one you are dealing with. Make sure one is gone before you do not want to start juggling two at once because we have multiple coming at us. You just want to be taking these down fast. And if you need to bomb, just do it. Do not take a hit here if you can help it. And then for this part, just stay in the middle. Nothing's going to harm you as long as you're just shooting and taking things out. And then I line myself up with that bottom silver section, just so I'm nice and close to this side thing. I see sometimes people have different approaches to this. I like taking out the left side all the way to the right side, and you'll see why momentarily. But I take out that, swing over to here so that way you can inch over this way without anything coming at you, and then just stay on this stuff. Ideally, the silver side, like disc sections, ideally you don't want to be destroying those because that just adds a lot of unnecessary pressure to this fight. So I stay focused when I'm like directly in line with the middle, and then when I'm moving out of the way to the left side like I just did, that's when I'll go to the spread shot because obviously I'm doing less damage that way. And if you're doing it this way, the only thing we're dealing with now is the far right wing, which is easy to dodge, and you can just finish off this phase like that. So again, get stars point blank as safely as you can. So there are a bunch of ways you can approach this. The one weapon that just showed up on his right side, if you can get that, which shoots these, I'll attempt to give you an example. Once that guy is shooting his blue shots, if you're on the opposite weapon, you can more or less stay with your focus shot on that constantly because you'll always get a bullet cancel when you're taking one out. And all you need to do is more or less dodge the blue by moving up or down while constantly shooting the other weapon. And that's a pretty safe strategy, but I don't really do that this time around. I just go into double break and take things out fast. And then get nice and close. Stay super close to this side, but make sure you know his movements. And this way you're destroying the little balls that come out and you have less to deal with. So for this part, I don't care what you have to do, just do not take a hit. Bomb, break, double break, I don't care. But that last attack is very nasty. So at this point, I went with a bomb reset because I know for sure I'm going to have oodles of stars to hit 450k. So that's not an issue. And now that we're going into the final stage, you want the maximum capacity for bombs available. You don't want to have too high a bomb line at all. So that's why I took that there. So this stage can feel fairly hectic if you're not used to it, but we just start things off, take some of those guys out, come to this side, and just inch over. We got one big guy, 2, 3, and then you just move back. It's honestly just a back and forth situation. Just keep it going like that, and then we got a laser coming down, and then you just swing to the right side, take the laser out. This part's easy. You just kind of do whatever you want to do. Again, if you got a bomb, if you got a break, do whatever. 1 laser, 2 laser, 3, and then we have another row coming up. I fumbled that part, and that's why I bombed there, but you do the same thing for the first and second rows of lasers. And I'm bombing here again because I was kind of just like, yeah, in a bit of a situation. But then, yeah, just take out those dudes. We got big lasers coming up next. So this is where you might want to break. But this is, like, this will certainly require you just memorizing what's what. And then obviously the big tanks are easy to take out when you're breaking. Those guys are simple. So for these guys, I don't think I do it much here, but you can stay with your focus shot right in the middle and just, it's a fairly safe spot. You just dodge the orange shots. Or you can just do what I was doing, have the spread shot going because you're getting a lot of charge for the gauge because you're destroying the side missiles. So that's an option, depending on what you want to do or what you're comfortable with. Okay, so this part, we got a lot of these dudes. This is a pretty insane section, but again, just back and forth. Just make sure you're really, really paying attention to the bullets because there is a lot of stuff coming at us right now. And then we got a big guy, so just inch, 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 and then to the other side. And again, break when you need to. There's no reason not to use that. It's never worth taking a hit. If you take those two big, oh shit, didn't mean to fast forward there. If you take those two big guys out first, the ones we just came from, a third one will show up in the middle. I didn't do them fast enough. I wasn't really caring about doing it fast enough, so we didn't have that third one show up. But anyway, for these two big guys that are about to be here, the one that I'm attacking right now, this is where you want to be double breaking. Just to take them out as quickly as you can, because it's nasty with the tanks coming from the left and everything else that's coming at us. So that's why I double break during that part. And then as long as you can just survive this, it's not too crazy. Just survive that and then just deal with the first tank, the second tank. As you can see, there's very little coming our way that's dangerous. See, like right there, that was perfect. Like he was toast before anything was even remotely threatening us. So once the third tank is done, we have this again, like so many other things, just back and forth, nice and easy. And you're good to continue to the next section. So just make sure you're going back and forth quickly enough, otherwise some of these tanks can fire little shots and then get right up close to this guy's side cannon. And then I back off just to make sure I'm going a safe distance for this next part. And then I brake here. What I was doing in the past is I was double braking right here, just so that I can take out this middle part very quickly. But what was happening was, obviously my double brake would run out, and then I would either need to choose like energy because it's completely at 0, or stars if I'm like desperate for that next life or whatever. But then it hit me one day, I was like, why don't I just let the bullet cancel from just a single brake take care of that, and then you can safely, after the break, just go in and clean up the last little bit. So that's why I'm doing it that way. And this way I have all my energy, and I can just do a reset instead, and that makes so much more sense to me. And especially because you want energy and a reset for the next, like everything else that's going to happen in this level, especially this part here. You do not want a high bomb line for this, or at least I don't. So pretty straightforward. I never have an issue dodging this first attack of blue, so I just do that like I just did, and then just stay to like the top corner to avoid that kind of stuff. Now the second wave is always tricky, so I will usually just brake, because it's not worth taking a hit. I swear to God, it's not worth it. And then I'm just going to bomb because I'm not getting hit there. The thing is, you don't want to take the dude out so fast that a second one will show up. So that's why I time it this way as well. Dodge the first one, brake for the second one, and then if I need to bomb or whatever for that last little bit, that's perfect timing to ensure another one isn't showing up. And then we got these guys. So as you can see, I'm just staying right in the middle. Nothing crazy is happening. It's easy to stay on top of it. Same thing, nothing's going on that's threatening us. This part is where you might want to just be a little more cautious, because we do have those big tanks firing at us. So for this part, this took some figuring out for sure. I did it flawlessly a few times here and there, but it wasn't really because I knew what I was doing. It was kind of just, it was frantic and I was surviving. But here I start on one side and I just work my way across to the other. And that way the dudes coming in from the one side are just being taken out before they can fire, for the most part anyway. And then when it gets crazy, just brake and finish off that first big guy. And double brake, because you can do insane damage. And ideally, I like taking out the second big guy, but if it's not going to happen, it's okay. I do it here, and that's great. If you can get it done before the laser blasts, then that's just fantastic. And then for this part, it's more or less just memorizing where the tanks are, how fast things start shooting at you and from where, and all that kind of stuff. Staying on top of the big laser guys, brake when you need to. Cannot stress that enough. And boom, I didn't even need to bomb there because he blew up like a second before that, but I wasn't going to take a chance. There was no way in hell I was going to do that. So yeah, if you're putting the practice in, like as you can see, we've no missed all the way to the final boss. So we're going in with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, plus 1, 6 lives. And again, this is very, very easy. Same strat as many other instances. I'll take out the first few, like that, but then it's just one side to the next, dash crossing the middle area somewhat. Or you can do what I do, sometimes just stay in the middle a little longer. It's whatever you want to risk. But just back and forth, sneak up the sides a little bit, just to misdirect. And we're almost through these dudes. Boom, last one's gone. And we're at the final boss. So I position myself about 1, 2, 3, in between, actually I'm pretty much on the second notch. But we sort of float down a little bit. But anyway, it's just a very simple back and forth. This is where you're just going to need to practice it. It looks crazy, but it's very, very simple. And then I brake pretty much right there every time. And then I will double break here, and I'll explain why momentarily. But you're going to want to at least learn how to dodge the first two, which are the easiest of the 3 attacks like that. Oh, I'm not sure if he did. Oh, maybe it's because I canceled the first one out. So yeah, that would be why. But anyway, the reason being you want to be in double break earlier on because you want to do just a ton of damage, because this attack that you're seeing right now is brutal. It is so brutal. There are simple ways to dodge it, but it's far too high a risk to even bother when you can just have it cancel out earlier than later. So that's why I do it that way. And then for this, just take out the tentacles as quickly as you can. I don't care what you've got to do. Bomb, break, just take them out. Do not get hit here, please. The little red shots are coming from destroying the tentacles. And boom, phase done. So lead him to the side. I'll just say a little something. Back in the summer when I was just starting to play Arcade Original, when I saw this in like other people's videos, this attack, the bouncing section with all the shots coming, I was like, how the hell am I ever going to be able to do this? Like, my mind just could not make sense of it. But it's very, very simple to make it through this. Just lead them. You have iframes here, and then just get past them, inch your way over. I took a hit here because I just miscalculated stuff, but whatever. It's the first hit in the whole run. So yeah, nice point blank damage while I'm invincible, and then bomb and point blank just to finish him off. So one thing I will say about the true last boss, which we're about to fight, is that, like I said, I'm on the Pro Controller. At one point, I was considering switching to one of my sticks, but I didn't really want to relearn the whole game. It's just more convenient these days for me to play with the Pro Controller, and that's why I just said, you know what, I'm just doing this game with it. I'm not switching over to the stick. So that, obviously, there's a bit less precision with the Pro, of course, and that in conjunction with the fact that Type Z is a very fast ship, even when you are in your focus shot with your slowdown, you can still overshoot easily. So for this part, I'm being way, way more cautious than I need to be, and it's because I do not want to take chances, because I know how glidey things can be. So this attack here, normally I would dodge it, and I like numerous times I have done this without needing to break or bomb or anything like that, but because the run has gone so well, I was just like, oh my god, like I'm not risking anything. I don't care if I'm bombing prematurely. I just want to make it through this. So that's why I'm already doing stuff like this. And bombing. Like, it's not the most efficient, but there was no way I was going to get hit. So this part's easy. Just circle around him. He does 3 of those waves, so make sure the third one doesn't track you because you're already at the bottom or whatever. So make sure it's like to the side like that. And then here, for the most part, just stay in the middle as best you can. Just take this out so quick, because this is probably one of the nastiest attacks, not including the very final attack. But boom, he's done. And then we have the second phase. So get nice and close. One thing I want to say is, when you're about to transition from the first phase to this second phase, make sure you're not stuck in like a double break where you can't bomb, because you're going to want to be able to bomb or enter a break mode or whatever, because you're going to want to avoid some of this stuff. And then here, see, that was just a silly fumble. And the reason I'm doing that is just to do as much point blank damage while I'm invincible as I possibly can. And then just back and forth, and then build charge for a bomb, detonate it, get right up close again. And I'm just not taking a risk, so I bomb again. And then we're into the last phase. So one thing I will say, this is easily one of the hardest, excuse me, well, it is the hardest attack in the whole game, in my opinion, just because it's so crazy and there's a lot going on. But also, if you do take a hit, obviously the TLB has his barrier shield, So as long as you're shielded, he's shielded, which just adds to the pressure because it's like, damn, you can't damage him. You got to wait until you're vulnerable and then you can be damaging him again. In training mode, I have definitely pulled off the final plus TLB boss fights only taking a single hit. So obviously in this run, it was not a great demonstration of surviving with excess lives, but it made for a pretty riveting ending. But anyway, I do take a bunch of hits, but you've just got to like maneuver as best you can and do as much damage as you can. Just get as many lock-ons as you can. Just do whatever it takes. Honestly, I don't care what you've got to do. I keep saying that, but it's so vital. You've just got to be fighting like there's no tomorrow. Because if you're not careful, that HP is going to be going down very, very slowly. So we cannot take another hit, just from fumbles and whatnot. And we got one bomb left, and then it's just too high to even get it up again. But thankfully, we finally did it. What a journey together. Okay, so yeah, I was just more or less thinking to myself if there's anything that I had forgotten to express or not. Yeah, I suppose it's just a matter of if you want clarification on anything, and keep in mind, like, this is just my approach to the game. There are lots of different ways to play it. I feel like Type Z is one of the hardest ships to play with, even though it's very powerful and fast. With how fast it is, it's just very dangerous. But there's something about it. I just love that ship. But yeah, anyway, let me know in the comments if you found this helpful. If it encourages you to just, yeah, jump into the game with a new kind of, yeah, energy for just like, okay, let's actually start piecing this together. It's more than doable. You've just got to put the time in. You've just got to be committed to it. But it is possible. And yeah, anyway, I'll leave off there for now. I trust you all enjoyed this. And yeah, let me know if you want me to do more stuff like this. Because typically I just do like 1cc runs without commentary and all that. But if you want this sort of thing, I can definitely do it, especially for games that are a little more challenging, where people feel like they can't approach it, or they just are clueless how it can be done. Because yeah, I think like I said earlier, it's one thing just watching someone do it, but when you can hear details here and there throughout the whole journey, that's when your mind just has more to work with, and I feel that's very, very beneficial. But yeah, anyway, we'll leave off there for now. Have a stellar day, and we'll see you next time, everybody.